So Sylvester Pemberton cannot be Courtney's father because he never had kids. And watching Courtney continuously not accept this is kind of like watching my daughter when she was that age accept that I didn't go to the store and buy macaroni and cheese. The denial was real. Hi guys, my name is Maria Park and this is Approach the Nerd. And in this episode, we are reviewing Stargirl episode 10 entitled Brainwave Jr. Very, very good episode. Lots of revelations and the ending was very surprising. So I'm just going to kind of jump in and talk about stuff that I have questions about and then talk about things that I liked because I'm pretty sure you watched the episode by now. So I don't have to do a play-by-play. I love the fact that Courtney is so in denial about her dad being Sylvester Pemberton that she literally is not even listening to her mother when her mother looks at a picture of him and says, that is not your dad. I mean, honestly, Courtney is adorable, but her leadership skills right now are not developed, which of course, you know, she's young, but her listening skills are non-flipping existent. She only has a one-track mind in what she wants to do, and she doesn't listen to what anybody else says. Her own mother said, I did not this guy to create you. So yeah, poor Courtney. She really has to get a clue sometime. And speaking of Pemberton, they introduced Mary, which in the comics, I think her name was not King. It was Creamer or Keemer or something like that. It's been a minute. I really should Google this. But she was the girl of 1,000 gimmicks in the comics. And she was actually Sylvester's partner before Stripesy. When he became the Star Spangled Kid. Because remember, when Sylvester was the Star Spangled Kid in the comics, he didn't have powers. He didn't get powers until he joined the JSA and got the cosmic staff from Ted Knight, the original Starman. So yeah, Mary is a real comic book character, but they did change it up. But she also did marry Brainwave in the comics. She just never knew he was Brainwave. I don't think there was ever a point in the comics when she realized he was a villain. So it's interesting that they wrote it where she did know in this one. And it's also interesting that we learned that Brainwave killed his own wife in this episode. I love that was the linchpin that pretty much told Henry he didn't want to be anything like his dad. Like Henry was adamant that he was not going to be another Brainwave. And I thought that was really cool. I did not expect Brainwave to kill his own son. But I guess since he killed his own wife, why not? I don't think that Henry Jr. is dead. And I really worry about his future because if he's not dead and they think he's dead, then that means that Dragon King can do whatever he wants with his body. And that is a scary notion. But he did get to have a little bit of redemption. He did get to kind of sort of apologize multiple times to Yolanda. And I think, you know, being that he was about to die, she finally accepted it. But it was interesting to me because, and this was pointed out on my last review, they made it seem like Cindy was the one that sent that picture. Like she was sitting in the audience during Yolanda's speech and she was texting it out and everybody got it. She was on her phone. Henry was not. So why is Henry always apologizing? Unless he feels guilty for showing the picture to his friends in the hallway, or he feels guilty that maybe he thinks one of his friends did it and didn't think that it was, you know, that Cindy did it. I don't know, but it's like he's taking full blame for this. And it was actually Cindy that sent that picture out. So that's interesting. I don't know if that was a plot hole or not. I really enjoyed the fight down in Dragon King's lair, or the Injustice Society's lair, whatever we're calling it. I really loved the fight scene in that. Yolanda was kicking a lot of A. I was surprised that Courtney was doing so well with martial arts because I don't remember if they ever said she was a martial artist in the TV show. She was in the comics, but I don't remember them ever stressing that. We've always heard that she wanted to be on a gymnastic team, that she was a gymnast back home, that she was good at gymnastics. I don't recall them ever showing a trophy or a certificate or anything about martial arts. And she was literally kicking A alongside Yolanda in that layer with zero training. So, I mean, I love the scene. I just have questions about it. I'm the kind of person that tries to get an explanation for things that I don't understand. And that's what I don't understand. Because that girl went in fighting and swinging and taking out these Dragon King minions like they were just nothing. And yeah, I have questions about that. I do love the fact that Barbara, first she flipped out threatened to take her daughter, kicked Pat out of their house. And then pretty much the next day by lunch, when she was getting ready to resign from work, she decides to research more into what, Pat's saying. What is this Starman thing? And, she starts getting involved with their mission, which is cool. I guess my only struggle is this, and it may just be me, as someone who's married. The way they interact with each other is almost like they're having a Tinder date. And I know that sounds horrible, but like even the original flashback, it was cute when they both were sharing the banana split, but it was so awkward. I don't know what it is, but Luke Wilson's Pat and Amy Smart's Barbara have chemistry problems to me. Like, they're supposed to be in love and they're supposed to be married, but they don't seem like they are. And it's just very weird to me. And I'm trying. I really am, because I want their little family dynamic to stay together, because obviously if they don't, then that means that Courtney's no longer Stargirl. But I just found that interesting that like every time I see them in scenes, it's like, okay, maybe this is going to be the one. And I should never have to be like, for a portrayal of a married couple, I should never have to have this like sense of, okay, are they going to seem married today? So that it's an issue to me. And I think that's probably the one thing that bothers me. And I love them both as actors, and I love them both in their roles. It's just together as a couple, she has more chemistry with Jordan. And I don't want her with Jordan. So that is a problem. And speaking of Jordan, our icicle, I love that he brought his parents up to Barbara's office to give her dessert, to thank her for dinner. And the Barbara recorded their conversation because, of course, they don't speak, their language. And so she's like, I think they speak Norwegian. I have to go back and look at that. But she translated it. And the translation was, that they like her. And, I can see Jordan, the way Jordan looks at her or something along those lines. And that, it won't matter once the machine is turned on. So are they going to make her into Jordan's mindless, zombified, obedient wife? Is that the plan? That's creepy. Now, one thing I will say, I did not like the fact that, number one, Barbara emailed her ex from her work computer. And number two, she did a search for a Google search, basically, or whatever search she was using, for Starman on her work computer. As someone who has worked at many corporations and nonprofits, I know that they monitor your emails. So, and even your searches on your computer, on your work computer. So wouldn't that be a red flag to Jordan that, oh, why is she searching for Starman? It's just, yeah, just little things like this I always have questions about. But I did like the fact that the JSA is starting to work as a team. I love the fact that they keep separating Our Man and, Dr. Mid-nite, or Beth and Rick, from the rest of the group, because if you read the comics with Infinity Inc., you know that they were a couple in the comics. As a matter of fact, when Beth, they were both adults when they got their powers in the comics, and Beth was pretty much what her mother is, a doctor. So her mother is it's almost like they took Beth and split her into two. So like her mother and her are pretty much the same counterparts. But like, if you watch my Dr. Mid-nite Spotlight, you'll know that her father was a minister. Her mother was a housewife, not a doctor. She was the doctor, a very, very good surgeon. And she was researching ways to make the hourglass safe for Rick to use, because it causes, after a while, the more times you use it, it can cause your body to shut down. It can cause like a toxic effect or allergic reaction. And eventually, I think he does actually succumb to cancer in the comics from using it too much. But I love the fact that they're putting them together. Now, will they keep them in this whole like potential relationship thing? Because right now I know it kind of seems weird because they're young, and Beth is very, very, optimistic about being a superhero and kind of down to earth, and Rick is just angry all the time. To be fair, he was also that way in the comics. But they were a couple, and this is this is going to the CW, so they may go that way. So it does seem that they keep pairing those two off a lot, though. So who knows? But the dynamic of this show is very different from the comics, in that Sylvester Pemberton did not die the way he dies in this series. He actually goes on to become Skyman, and he is one of the leaders of Infinity Inc. until Solomon Grundy kills him with this poisonous hand he got from Mr. Bones in the comics. So, yeah. So Sylvester went from the Star Spangled Kid to Starman to Skyman. He was also with the Seven Soldiers of Victory when he first started too. Partnered with his sister, then partnered with Stripesy, and they joined the Seven Soldiers of Victory before they joined the JSA. So there's a long history with Sylvester. So, but that could be said for a lot of the characters, because a lot of the characters that are dead in Stargirl, the TV series, are actually partnered with our three in the actual comic books in Infinity Inc. So definitely different, but I knew it was going to be different, because if not, then we would have had Courtney say she was the next Star Spangled Kid, because that's the role she took before Stargirl, that then we couldn't call the series Stargirl. So a little history lesson for you there. I also love the scene with Mike and Courtney, because Mike really wants to have a family. And no matter what he says, he really hurt that he's not included in this family dynamic. And honestly, if they keep this from Mike, it's going to be really crappy, because that means all three of them are in on it, and he's going to feel like the odd man out and the hurt one. And they really need to see this early on. They need to see that by excluding him, you're ostracizing him from the rest of the family, and he's going to feel extremely hurt by this. Not only is his stepsister a superhero and she gets all the cool powers and has the team and gets to go on all the missions that he probably would love to do, he's not even made aware of it, and all of them knew and kept it from him. So that's going to be a problem. I don't know if they're going to reintroduce his friend Jakeem, which would be interesting, because, he does inherit the Thunderbolt, but they did mention him. So maybe we will see a Jakeem in the future, which would be interesting. I mean, I think there's a reason we saw the pen, and she has a Thunderbolt pen in her room in a cup, which she doesn't remember. I mean, she probably should probably remember that at some point, but yeah, she doesn't remember. So that would be interesting. It would be interesting if they change the story up altogether, and Mike goes in her room and borrows the pen, and he inherits the Thunderbolt. And then Mike becomes, the next Thunderbolt. That would be interesting. So, just theories I'm throwing out here, guys. But yeah, overall, good episode. Cindy's still locked in the lair where she deserves to be. She's just crazy. I don't know at what point they're going to let her out. If they're going to let her out, I don't know. It's just weird. But yeah, I'm really digging this episode. So I normally end my reviews at this point, but right now I'm going to do a small spotlight on Sam Kurtis, the real father of Courtney. So there are two different canon backstories for Sam Kurtis. The first one's pretty short. He was basically a low-level criminal from Gotham, where Barbara was also from. He was very abusive to his wife, so Barbara took their newborn baby, Courtney, and made a run for Los Angeles, where she would later meet Pat, and then they would get married and move to, of course, Blue Valley, Nebraska. Now, the Stars and Stripes version of Sam Kurtis is a little bit different, and it's pretty much what the TV series is based on. Sam Kurtis is still a very bad guy. He's a hustler, he's a thief, and he gets arrested all the time, even though he has big ambitions to be an even bigger crime lord. And Barbara leaves him because she doesn't want to raise her child with a criminal, and quite frankly, no one can blame her. So Barbara still moves to Los Angeles and eventually meets Pat and gets married, and then relocates to Blue Valley, Nebraska. We see Sam again in Stars and Stripes, where he comes to visit his daughter, but in reality, he wants the locket that he left her, because that locket and the one that he has a duplicate of are very valuable, and he wants to use these lockets to pay off debts. The next time we see Sam is when Courtney realizes that her father is a low-ranking member of the Royal Flush Gang, going by the codename Two of Clubs. In this issue, Sam shows even more of what a bad father he is by not only pulling a gun on his daughter, intending to attack her, but he also seems to have no issue sacrificing Courtney to make his escape. She eventually throws him in jail and never looks back. I'm very curious if they're going to keep this storyline in the actual TV show, and I'm also very curious, and I think I've mentioned this since my episode 1 review, if this is going to have a negative impact on how Courtney is as Stargirl. Will she feel unworthy? Will she give up the staff? Or will it motivate her to be a better Stargirl so she's nothing like her criminal father? I mean, there's so many possibilities they can take in this plot. And there you have it, my Stargirl episode 10 review and my mini spotlight video on Sam Kurtis, the real father of Courtney, aka Stargirl. So let me know in the comments what you think. And if you would like to sign up for jury duty, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to know who's next on the nerd bell, hit the notification bell. Until next time, I can't wait for you to approach the nerd. Bye, guys.
Thank you for watching my video. I really appreciate it, but hey, the party doesn't have to stop now. Click on one of these videos and keep it going.